Hello and welcome back to Disney Journey. I'm retired Imagineer Jim Schull, and on today's episode, we're going to be talking about something that's been in the news recently, which is Epcot Center, and specifically the opening of Communicore Hall. With the opening of this hall, that caps off and finishes the 7-year reimagining of Epcot Center. So let's take a moment now in this episode and talk about the hall and all stages in Disney World, their history, their present, and their possible future. Put on your sun hat, let's head to Epcot. Communicore Hall is in the center of Communicore Plaza, and it serves its function as being the headquarters for the festivals that Epcot has become known for. Through these doors, well, it's a flex space, at least that's what we'd call it. It's all clear span, and it's capable of having a number of events. I mean, there's a lot of seating area, it's air conditioned, it's in the shade, and there are lots and lots of serving windows for food and drink. And just outside, well, there's a lot of expansive concrete lighting. Again, it's all about having a flex space. And here, just around the corner, is the festival stage. To tell this story, well, we need to get comfortable. Sit down in our chair, get our favorite drink, and depending on, how we feel, maybe something a little stronger. Epcot start on paper, with people like Herbie Ryman drawing and painting these beautiful concept renderings. And there are so many of them. But they alluded to an Epcot and a future world that was never built. I'd like to call it the mall concept. Although, what tennis has to do with future world is still beyond me. As part of the process, those concept drawings, they proceeded over into dimensional design and they created models like this one. However, it was really credited to Hopper Goff who broke the back of what World Showcase would be. It's no longer a mall, as we can see here, but it's a collection of neighborhoods, each with its own pavilion celebrating its nationality, such as this, the never-built Equatorial Africa. It was proposed that Future World would have looked like this. However, we ended up with this. And why, you may ask? Well, anything you want to do at the Disney company is going to cost money. Lots and lots and lots of money. Epcot, as conceived, was both big and expensive. And in the center of it was Communicore. Now that was the place that the pavilion participants had, kind of more the hard sell portion of their businesses. In fact, I worked on the oil field exhibit sponsored by Exxon. The bulldozers drove in, and for many, many years, this was a view that guests riding the monorail would be greeted by. In the middle of Epcot was a construction field. But at the end, we ended up with this. Now, again, as we said at the top of the episode, it's a lot of concrete, a lot of lights, and everything set up so it could be a flex space, a place that could be transformed for the festivals, which are the lifeblood of this park now, today. The downside is, when there's no festival, it looks vacant because, it is vacant. It's comfortable, at least. It's cool. I hope they have enough electrical outlets to plug in my phone. But outside, again, there's a beautiful stage, and it's given over right now to the festival celebrating Encanto. In all likelihood, this again will be used for broadcasts, stage entertainment, special events. There is no central element or water feature or anything of note as a backdrop for this stage when it's used for broadcasting. But it's not such a bad little stage. I mean, look at all the people there for Encanto. A little hot though. And we'll get to that next. You see, Disney has a history with shade. I mean, as in, not enough of it. So keep your sun hat on and let's head on over to the Disney MGM Studios as we start to talk about the history of shade over stages, or the lack thereof. Over here, when the Disney MGM Studios opened to guests for the first time, they had a stage. And it was a last minute thing, and as you can see here, it was a faux version of the Hollywood Bowl. Now, again, it fell to the wrecking ball in order to create Sunset Boulevard, and at the end of that, there's a new stage. But it was replaced because they put a hunchback stage at the end of the Streets of the World, which fell again to the wrecking ball in order to make room for Galaxy's Edge. The same formula holds as we head now to the Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom is large and surprisingly doesn't have that much as far as live entertainment stages. I mean, there's the one in front of the castle, but the one we really all think about is the one there in Tomorrowland. A temporary stage that somehow has remarkable permanency. The Galaxy Palace Theater graced the new Tomorrowland, although it doesn't really speak to me of it being a palace. You know, you gotta love the 1990s at Disney World. I mean, I don't want to say they were game for anything, but look at this. Galaxy Search, you gotta love Mickey in a spacesuit. And, you know, when you have an MC host, who else would you turn to but this bizarrely puppeted creation? I mean, yeah, he looks like a dinosaur, but he's got sunglasses I give it a pass. Dancing their hearts out. Moving over to the Animal Kingdom, we find a lot of the same issues again, rearing their head. Again, of all of the parks, this is the largest. And when it opened, really did lack AC or much shade. These trees that are grown today are pretty small back then. But entertainment was required. And so Camp Mini Mickey was born. And there, in a green or greenish area, you could see the Disney characters, and they'd be posing and they would be greeting you or hitting you or pointing you toward the Pocahontas Theater, where there's this kind of scary looking living tree puppet thing. Pocahontas, at the very back of Camp Mini Mickey, was an open air theater, and that was given over to the Lion King. Now, being open air, it didn't really last very long, and pretty quickly they enclosed that theater, bringing in air conditioning, which the guests said thank you very much. And it was a place that you could get out of the heat and enjoy a show. And it was a good show. I mean, really entertaining. The singers and dancers worked their hearts out. And it was definitely music that we all knew from the movie. It was a good show, and honestly, I think it was much more of an unexpected hit for the Disney company. And it's worth noting that the Legend of the Lion King show was so popular and successful that it was on the opening day attraction list in Hong Kong Disneyland when that park opened in 2005. When the Legend of the Lion King moved into its own new purpose-built theater, it was over in Harambe, which kind of made sense because it was a story based and situated in that continent. Another theater that changed in Animal Kingdom was Theater in the Wild, going from an open tent to a completely enclosed theater. And it's a good theater. Again, it took a while, but it's a wonderful theater. So with that, we keep our fingers crossed that someday this stadium will get shade. But back to Epcot, where we begin. Epcot has gone through a lot of transformations. There was a period where it was kind of like, let's try anything was the rule of the day. And who can forget the Daredevil Circus Spectacular? As strange as it seems that you could go to Epcot in Future World and see someone on a motorcycle, I gotta tell you, it had a certain amount of appeal just, to see Mickey and the gang in silver costumes. That was worth the price of admission. But again, this was a time where Epcot was trying to find its identity, and anything that you could throw against the wall, you could see what could stick. And that would tell you the way that they'd go in the future. But again, there's a little part of me that really wants to see this come back. But I doubt it. I said earlier that Epcot was an expensive park, and it spent a lot of money, but it also spent a lot of their brand. Not too long ago, guests going to Epcot were greeted by the Preview Center. And this was the old Odyssey restaurant that was transformed to become the Epcot experience, presented by WDI. And in there, no less a figure than Walt Disney himself was employed to tell the guests about all the wonderful things that were going to be coming in the future to Epcot as it was being reimagined and rebuilt. Something which I think someone said it was going to be more contemporary, more fun, and much, much more Disney. So in the middle of the room was this beautiful projection mapped model, and around was a screen. Lots and lots of new video was shot for it to talk and inform and to, whet the palate of the guests. Like, hey, they really need to come back to see new Epcot and to see what WDI was going to be delivering to them. I stood there a couple of times just to see the entire show because it was that good. Everything about it was a promise of the future, a brand deposit, if you will. And it ended with this, because who else would you want to see in England in World Showcase other than, well, that great nanny herself, Mary Poppins. And at the end of the show, I walked out of the Preview Center knowing that when I came back, when they were all done, I would see the festival building, I'd see, well, the Play Pavilion, I would see Mary Poppins, and so much other. And I couldn't wait to come back because, you see, they had made a brand deposit. As I walked out of the show space, I looked over and, well, documented, made a promise to Mary herself saying, I'll be back. However, that's not what was built. And as a result, what we had was a brand withdrawal. A promise made, but a promise broken. Some of it was built, as I said earlier, like the stage at Communicore. And there's really a good, entertaining show there with a great cast, great classic music, and certainly you can't fault people for their energy. However, for now, as we stand in the sun to enjoy this show, we think about what could have been and what can be the solutions. I mean, umbrellas serve a purpose, but that's not an end goal. Maybe you could encase the entire building, but, that would keep people dry and, safe from the rain and the elements, but maybe not. Epcot has always been my favorite park, and I look forward to my next visit. A great, big, beautiful tomorrow awaits me. Well, that brings us to the end of today's journey, but we'll go another one real soon. Until we do, I invite you to like and subscribe to this channel. And don't forget to hit the bell to be notified of the next episode. Until the next time then, goodbye from always windy Lost Canyon.